before I get on stage, what I've been doing recently is just taking a deep breath. This is what I do. Like this right here. This is what I do. How many people can say that they love every part of what they do? Once things start getting in there, and you start telling yourself, like, you can't do it, you'll never be good enough, then you start to believe it, and that's where things get really squirrely. You know, you have to fight back against them and go, like hell you're going to tell me what I can and can't do. I'm going to go do it now.
You need to go somewhere where someone knows your name, they welcome you. You can go at your own pace. Listen,
Yeah.
I have some rock stars who smash the bags. I have some people who just want to go like this.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, as long as you do.
You do it.
So welcome, Inara. We practiced that. Is that good?
Yeah, you're good.
So today we're going to talk about belly dancing. But before we get started, I just want them to know that, like, finding a male belly dancing outfit is very hard, right? So, like, my friends already think I shop at Baby Gap, but I don't. This is how this came. My pants came like they're MC Hammer pants, and I have a tiny vest.
Yeah.
You know, so but there's not many places to.
No, there really is.
And why is that?
Male belly dancers aren't as prevalent as female belly dancers. You know, when you look into the history of belly dance, it was a women's dance for women. And so I think that because of that, when you think of belly dancer, you think of like going out to Opa, right, and seeing a belly dancer there. You're not thinking that you're going to get a male belly dancer, right?
Yes.
Usually you're right. And so getting a male belly dance costume is very difficult. A lot of my own personal male belly dancer who teaches for me, he makes a lot of his own costumes.
Yes, makes sense.
You have to learn to sew, basically.
I think this might cut off my circulation, so if I pop over, just keep
I'll
talking.
try to catch you.
No, just keep talking.
Okay.
So I read that you started belly dancing on a whim.
I did.
Can you explain that?
Yeah. So at the time, I was married. Not anymore, but I was married, and he would occasionally go off on travel, and I would get bored, and so I'd already accidentally dyed my hair black. Not a good look. And
I think you can pull it off.
oh, I can't. It's like Wendy from Casper. It is not good. And so belly dance was next on my list. I started on a Groupon.
Nice.
And thought, oh, well, I'll just try this out, and it'll be something fun. I can say I tried. But it stuck. It stuck. I found another studio that I absolutely adored, and I stayed there for like 10 years. And I was teaching, and then it just became what I do, which is just, it's funny because you don't think.
Yeah, so do you think, so like for me, when you say a whim, so everything for me is synchronicity, right? So like even us meeting, right? Obviously when we saw each other for the first time outside, I was like, oh, I like her, right? Like I like the energy kind of thing. Do you think that was a whim, or do you think something kind of guided you to it?
Well, I've always been into dancing. So I've been dancing since the age of 3, where I started ballet. I can't say I was very good at it, but I did start ballet and stayed for a little while. So dancing for me is just, it's a movement thing. You know, when I'm learning lines for a performance, right, I have to pace. I can't sit still and memorize lines. I have to move. I have to put action to it, you know? So in that way, it makes sense. It's not as out of the box as you'd think, you know? When I was a kid, I also did step dancing for about 6 years. And so doing like ethnic dances is kind of my thing, you know? Yeah.
So what did you feel like when you first did it, right? Because there's many forms of dance, but you're like this, right? It's the way your body moves, it's what you were thinking.
Yeah.
Were you in your like feminine energy?
So I don't really subscribe to feminine or masculine energies, you know, and it's more about how I feel in my own skin, you know. When I was in college, right, let's say, I was quite mousy. Pianist in college, very mousy.
This isn't mousy right now.
No.
Yeah, this is like an evolution.
No, yeah. I will say I think belly dance really helped me step out of that box, which was great. And so if you ask my friends or anyone who knew me from college, they go, "Oh, no, it's a completely different person,"
Did it break the shell off you?
Yeah. And I think me and my belly dancer persona is really just a highlight of me that I wasn't really giving attention before. I've always loved being on stage, the lights and everyone's attention and the cameras, and I love that. That makes me happy. Being sparkly, that makes me happy.
Understand.
Yeah. You're getting a little dose of that yourself. Yeah. But for me, in that first belly dance class, it was the sound of the coin bells and the music just draws you in.
What kind of music is it? Is it like Middle Eastern?
Middle Eastern, yeah. So Arabic, Turkish, Lebanese, Armenian, they all have their different flavors. They all have their different combinations of instruments, right? And then within those, there's all these subsets too. So your cane dance is going to sound different from your veil dance, which is going to sound different from a melody,
And these are all types of belly dancing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you do, my studio, primarily, we can step out of the box every once in a while, but primarily we do American cabaret, called AMCAB, and modern Egyptian. So those are the ones that we really focus on. But Turkish, I've done a bunch of Turkish shows. My instructor was really big into Turkish as well. So, there's subsets within dances that are kind of from all of the places.
So when you do choreography, do you mix? And the reason I ask is like in the martial arts, right? There's many different forms.
Yes.
And, I subscribe to like, okay, just take what works in each of them and then make it your own. Right? And then that's how we learn information. So, like, if we have all these subsets, when you choreograph a routine, are you picking different things?
So I kind of have my own style, kind of. When you have different backgrounds with different types of dance, you start to gain your own your own flavor. So
what flavor do you think I do right now?
Cherry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or hot tamale, yeah. So, I use a lot of lyrical based movements, I like really snaky things, but in a drum solo, things are sharp and staccato, so it's like having a best man, Yeah.
Do you feel, for you dancing, is like an expression of your soul?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you unpack that?
Yeah. So I'm never more happy than when I'm dancing. And it's pretty funny because I think that comes across when I dance. It's a way of expressing yourself without having to spell it out for people.
They can feel it.
They can feel it. If you truly enjoy what you're doing, even if it's laced with terror, you can feel that, especially if you keep a smile on your face, which is something I've been telling all my students getting ready for that show coming up. So, even if you're inside going like, oh no, I'm not sure I can do this, keep up that vibe of, oh wait, yes I can. It's like that kid book, the Blue Engine That Could.
Oh, okay. I was just like in my own book there,
Yeah.
It's the best-selling book in the entire round, for instance. Just so you know.
Huh?
I wrote a children's book.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, thanks. I thought you were plugging that book, not the Blue Engine That Could.
Yeah.
But so for me, I get that, right? So like, I believe that like when you follow your passion, right, it's a complete kit. So it brings other opportunities to you.
Yes.
So when I started to do the podcast, I knew I got excited about it. So like excitement for me is like your soul, your inner being telling you like that's the path you need to go.
Yes.
And I knew the people that I would meet on that path would enrich my life, right? And I say like when I do a podcast, like I change a little bit and then the guest changes a little bit too from the interaction.
Right.
Now, when I subscribe to like Abraham Hicks, like the law of attraction, so like when you're in your passion, like that's when everything is coming to you, right?
So I do believe that the energy that you put out is the energy that you receive back.
And would you say our energies are pretty similar?
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You can tell.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is that, people want to be around other people who are happy.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And like the text life.
Yes.
So, like, if you're crabby, this is why you don't have many friends. Yeah. Right? Because no one's going to want to be around you for so long.
Right.
And I think the first step in being charismatic or being likable is just to smile.
It does help.
Right?
It does help.
Yeah. And I think if more people just understood that, like, okay, don't argue for your limitations. Mm-hmm. Don't say I can't do stuff. Like,
yeah, always add the word yet.
Yeah.
I can't do that yet. Mm-hmm. Because it always keeps the door open for, in the future, I could possibly do that, or, it's not the right time for that yet.
Yeah, I think time is important.
It is.
And I think that just understanding, like, you can tell when someone's living their passion, and, my favorite band is Bon Jovi.
Oh, okay.
And I've been watching one of the clips he does. Before he sings, he's like, I'm a lucky guy to get to do what I love to do. And I think about that, like, and then obviously he plays with Soul Stadium, but, like, that's what I do. Like, I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, like, but you got to take some risks to actually get there.
You do. And it's funny that you say that, because, so I have a lot of gigs between the Latin ballroom stuff that I do and the salsa bachata scene, and then also belly dance. I have about 10 gigs a month, average. Which is a lot this coming month. But, so before I get on stage, what I've been doing recently is just taking in a deep breath and going, this is what I do. Like, this right here. This is what I do. How many people can say that they love every part of what they do? And then as I'm leaving whatever gig it is, I take another breath after it's all exploded and been done, and as I'm walking to my car, I go, this is what I do,
What did you do before this?
I was a piano teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you as happy doing that as you were doing this?
Yeah, I was. I've been doing that a long time. So I still teach some piano. I do it virtually since the pandemic.
Sure.
And I do love my piano students. I really do. But as they leave, I'm just sort of not filling the spots anymore,
Does this excites you more?
Yeah. And I think it's a weight, so, the first thing, being a musician, that was huge. Like, it was everything I wanted. And then, after doing piano for so long, I was like, voice, this is what I do. This is what I love. This is what I want to do. And now it's dance. And so every 10 years or so, I get a new idea and I sort of run with it. It doesn't mean that the things I do get dropped off, but it means that my focus has changed.
You think you're evolving?
Yeah.
Do you have a inclination of what you're going to evolve into next?
So I'll definitely be keeping the belly dance. I think the belly dance is here for good, But since the pandemic, I started doing ballroom. And that for a while was like, it was a golden retriever moment of like, oh, do it again, and so ballroom became a big thing. I met Martin, who is my dance partner, who is so wonderful. And so...
Do you think you'd approve of this outfit right now?
Probably. So Martin's my Latin dance partner. I have a belly dance partner as well.
Would he approve?
Oh, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Although it probably needs more steps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I try to get the most bedazzled outfit I could find.
Right.
This is the only one they sell for males.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
MissBellyDance.com.
Yep. I love Miss Belly Dance.
I guess so do I.
Yeah. So anytime you get a costume, it's never completely right. So you always have to change around the straps of things, or you have to add more elastic, or you have to add more stones. I'm always adding more stones. Appliques, or you decide, oh, well, this would really be better if this did this instead. So as a belly dancer, you need a background in sewing, or you need to start. I have one student who's in my dance company, Azama, And she has just started learning how to build her own dance costumes because I made her. And so last year for Candy Shop, our big show, I told all of my advanced class, I said, the intermediates are buying your costumes from Dalal. They're going to look spectacular. You have to make yours. Let's go. And they all went, what? And I went, this is what we're doing. And so they did squabble a little bit, but they
did. You do that? Yeah, did you do that so they get more appreciation of almost like the culture of belly dances?
Yeah, a little bit. But then also had a very specific thought about what I wanted this costume to look like.
Okay.
So my dance shows are not your average show.
What are they like?
So it's not really a recital. So in ballet, right, you have the Nutcracker. They do the Nutcracker every year. It's not considered a recital. It's considered a show, right? Because you have professional dancers, you have group members, you have solos, you have duos, right? And so it's a show. And so I've been taking my studio's yearly show and turning it into this big theatrical performance. So last year was our first one. It was supposed to be in 2020, but as we all know, everything got derailed a little bit. And so last year was called Candy Shop. It's about a young woman who walks into a candy store, and every piece of candy she tries turns into a big dance number. When you boil it further down, it's a young woman walks into a candy shop, tries all the free samples, and leaves without paying for anything. But either way, I had this woman come out, Alicia, from the Rebel Factory, lovely person. It's the same place we're putting on our show this year. And she came out, she was my narrator. So she came out, I had voiceovers of the shop talking to her. And so she would.
Now, was this your idea, or was this already
This is my idea, okay. Yeah. So every year I try to come up with my own big thing. And it was just fantastic. People in the audience said they didn't look at the program once, which is the goal.
How long does this last?
It's about 2 hours with a 15-minute intermission. And so this year, our thing is Hatter. But to get back to that, so the advanced class, theirs was cotton candy. So you know cotton candy, it's pink and it's blue and it's lavender and it's like shimmery and it's fluffy, right? And so their costumes were pink and blue and lavender. The veils had this snake print. I dyed my work too. So it's this kind of cool Japanese way of tying that creates the snake print ombre. Very cool. So it was ombre snake print, but when it's in the air, it just looks like it's this beautiful ombre. And their entire number was great because they couldn't look at each other. They're in a circle, all facing outward. And throughout the entire number, which is about 4 minutes long, they do one single rotation without looking at each other in a circle. And they did it.
And how old are these? They're mostly women, I'm assuming.
Mostly, but I do have an old male belly dancer.
Gotcha.
Also, my studio is, I think my studio is more progressive than most. So typically, belly dance teachers don't care how old you are. We don't care what your size is. We don't care what shape you are. We just don't care. It's about the dancing. It's not about, pinpointing and making sure that everyone is this one size. It's not about that.
Yeah. So I have the same philosophy at my fitness jiu-jitsu studio.
Yeah.
I just need to keep you moving and doing something for yourself.
Right.
Because most people are just going to work, they're going home.
They're on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, they're right. And you need to go somewhere where someone knows your name, they welcome you. You can go at your own pace. Listen, I have some rock stars who will smash the bags.
Yeah.
I have some people who just want to go like this.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, as long as you do.
You do it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which brings me to this quote that I had read from your website, which is, and I'm assuming you wrote this.
Yeah.
More often than not, potential students focus on the negative thoughts that they have about themselves when they are asked, why don't you take my class? A lot of these reasons are actually reasons to take the class and try something new.
Yeah.
So can you unpack that for me?
Sure. Yeah. So Some of the number one things that I get are, well, I don't look like a belly dancer. What does a belly dancer look like? If you are belly dancing, that's how that works, right? We're all different shapes and sizes, and something that I do will look different, right? Regardless, because we're all different. So that's one of the number one things that I get. Or, I can't dance. Well, sure. That's why you take a dance class, right? Is to learn how to dance. Now if you don't want to dance, that's a different issue, right? I don't get that one very often, but I might soon. But if I can't dance, I don't look like a belly dancer. Oh, I'm carrying too much weight. I could never do that. And it's the original belly dancers didn't look like me. This is what you see these days because a lot of the restaurants, they hire dancers based on looks.
Sure.
They do. Looks and talent. Let's put both of those in the same pile. I have a friend who has his own production company, and you have to fit the costume. He has all the costumes, you have to fit the costume. And that's just kind of how it goes, Now with belly dance, there's more wiggle room, right?
Literally.
Bad joke. But, what you see in these restaurants, what you see in these shows are dancers that are a bit more trim.
And
right?
professionals.
Right? You don't get to see the bit before there where, you're taking your first dance class, you're nervous, you're wearing the baggiest clothes that you own because you're uncomfortable with how you feel in your own skin, right? And then as it goes on, you take a couple more classes, you find that they're then wearing crop tops, and they're really happy about it. And watching that progression happen is it's exciting. And you don't point it out, because you don't want to put them on the spot, but you kind of go, I like your shirt,
Yeah, I think with any kind of endeavor where someone's learning, they're exercising, they're getting more fit, they're building their confidence. Mm-hmm. The person that they are when they first meet you and the person that they are in, say, 6 weeks, 2 months, a year, totally different people.
They are.
The biggest thing as coaches is that we have to just get them to take the first step.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And in the fitness industry, we would hear my cardio is not good enough to do the class. Mm. That's exactly why you should do the class.
So that you can build it. Yeah.
Right? I'm going to get in shape first, then come do it. And that is the voice of the critic.
Yes.
So we all have that voice that says, you can do this, listen, I'm doing most likely doing an endeavor now, which people are like, you can't do it, you're not going to win, right? And you don't tell me what I'm going to do.
Right.
Right? I think it's kind of funny because people are like...
But they tell themselves all the time.
Well, it's because you don't want me to go against you. Right? And in a competitive thing.
Right.
But that's just me reflecting back to me. What's my decision point? Do I listen to these people that don't matter to me? It's not that I don't like them. But at the end of the day, a person can only make the decision for yourself.
Right.
Right? And I'm going to listen to people you can do this. Mm-hmm. Right? Stuff like that. Yeah. And I think that people often, myself included, sometimes you listen to that critic voice.
Yeah.
Do you experience that?
I do, yeah. I think in college it was really tough. Because you're surrounded, in music school, you're surrounded by all of these other musicians that you sit there and you go wow, they play so much better than I do. They've been playing so much longer, and you're trying to practice 8 hours a day and then do classes and homework on top of it, and you're sitting there going what
do you think is more important though, skill or discipline?
Oh, discipline.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because what happens is people who have that innate skill,
they don't work.
Right.
They don't work.
And when things get tough, they don't have that discipline to overcome it.
Right.
The one time they do the bad recital.
Yeah. Instantly they get crushed. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that, the voice of the critic?
So I used to call it my panel of judges because it was more than one voice, it felt like.
A lot of personalities.
Yeah.
I don't judge, I'm just saying, a lot of personalities. Who am I to judge in my
I've got my on stage and then my off stage, But it was really hard. It was really hard because once those start getting in there and you start telling yourself, like, you can't do it, you'll never be good enough, you're never going to get anywhere, then you start to believe it. And that's where things get really squirrely, And so eventually, you have to fight back against them and go, like hell, you're going to tell me what I can and can't do. I'm going to go do it now. And so that's how I conquer everything now. I kind of go, oh, really? I'm going to be hyper-focused on this over here, and I'm going to do this. You think I can't bake bread? I will show you. 6 weeks, I will bake bread,
Yeah, and I think you always have a decision point. Do you listen to it or not?
Or not, yes.
For me, sometimes I'm like, fuck that shit. Like, I'm not listening to it.
Yeah.
Or I literally say it in my brain. Sometimes I say it out loud. I think people might put that guy's But beliefs are just thoughts that we keep thinking about ourselves, right? So, we all have thoughts, but when we keep thinking a thought, then it becomes a belief.
Right.
And I think it's important for people to understand that, you can change the beliefs you have by just continuously thinking new thoughts.
I think also what really helps is I forever consider myself a student.
100%.
Yeah. So, when I pick up a new hobby, which is frequent, if I'm not being honest, so I try to pick up new hobbies, new skills fairly frequently so that I'm forever in that state of, I know a lot about this subject and that subject, but I'm still learning over here. And I think that helps me really connect to my students too, because when you're going through that beginner phase, you're a little fragile in some ways, because if your instructor says you're going nowhere, you're going to believe them, right? Because they know so much.
When we teach our trainers and coaches, we consider new clients like fragile eggs.
Yeah.
So anything that happens to them, they'll crack.
Right.
So you need to hard boil them.
Yes.
Right? With positivity and love.
Right. Right.
But I think when you're learning, it also shows you them that okay, so she's mastered this, but she's learning, so I can learn.
Right.
Because people are just a demonstration of what you could be doing. Right? It's if you see somebody who's happy and somebody who's not, you shouldn't be getting mad at the person who's happy. That just means you're not happy with yourself. You should be saying, well, I have 2 paths I can go right now.
Right.
Let me follow.
And what do I need to
get
there? Yeah.
And do you think when you're in your passion, right? So for me, when I'm passionate about something, those negative thoughts can't even penetrate me.
Yeah.
Right? It's about getting to that. Now, again, not all day, all the time, are you passionate?
No.
Right? Sometimes I might be sitting down you're not realistic at that, whatever.
I really love being one with my couch right now.
Right.
That bag of potato chips.
Yeah, which is why I gave you a couch. Right.
I appreciate that.
I'm one with the stool and the tiny vest. So I feel when you have that passion, those negative thoughts can't penetrate. It's almost like a shield. When you're belly dancing, you're I know what you're thinking. You're I'm rocking this.
Yeah, I got this.
Right? You don't think anything else. And that's why I think it's so important. Mm-hmm. So what's your teaching style where someone's coming in, they're a new belly dancer, whatever dancer, how do you make sure they don't crack the egg?
So a lot of it has to do with pacing and being really aware of who you have in class and how far you can push them. And then belly dance movements for belly dance are just fairly unusual. They aren't movements that you typically use in everyday life. I don't know how many chest shimmies you do in everyday life, but nice. But, for most people,
I like that.
for most people, that's not, something that they do a lot of. And so I always throw out the most insane analogies because if I can connect it to everyday life things that they do. Do you kayak?
Not well.
Not well, but you've been in a kayak.
Yes.
Yes. So if you've been in a kayak and you've done a little bit of kayaking, regardless of how good you are at it, you can do a figure eight because it's the same hip motion, the lean that you've got going on in the kayak. Hip circles. You want to imagine you're a spatula in a giant bowl of cookie dough.
Love it.
And you're going around the outside of it, right? So it's realizing that you can go, oh, okay, if I was XYZ, then this is how it would feel, And I think the analogies make it really fun because people start giggling and going, oh my God, it would be great to be in a giant bowl of cookie dough, And it gets them outside of that, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. They start thinking about, well, if I was in a giant bowl of cookie dough, what cookie dough would it be? Like, they start going off.
Wait, and you're building connection between the community, which is going to be super important.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So males can belly dance?
Absolutely. Yes. So I have a male dancer, Christos. He is wonderful. He is my second in command at Inara Belly Dance. He teaches classes. He is the dance captain to Azama Dance Company, which is a little dance company. He is a beautiful dancer and just a really kind person. He teaches in a style that's very similar to mine, so it's very copacetic. And his students love him. Recently, like I said, I've been jet setting and having lots of gigs, and so he is always cool to step in classes and substitute teach for me, and the students all get to know him. He's in all of the classes, he hangs out, and he learns all the choreographies, so that if anyone has questions, he's there, And what's been really fun this year is that marketing is very important when you own a business, right? As I'm sure you know, right? So the dancers that I put on my posters, I try to have a big variety.
Sure.
Azama is known for having a wide variety of people, a wide variety of ages. We have people of different skin tones, we have...
Like pasty white?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got some spray tan going on right now, but most of the time I reflect light. I put him on the poster because it's nice to have a male in the studio. I have a young woman who has short hair and tattoos, so I stick her on the poster too, because if you don't see it, then you don't know. If you look at Instagram and you look at belly dancer, you get a lot of skinny, people dancing. And you don't get to see, people of different shapes and sizes. And if you put male belly dancer, you'll get a few of those that are really good. But again, you don't see the midline there. You see just the pros, and you just see, that thing that you're expecting to see,
And I think that's hugely important. I think one of the things that people like about my studio is that, my studio is, so we talk about the fitness, caters to middle-aged women who happen to be overweight for the most part.
Yeah.
I really don't get many 19, 20, 21 that you might see at some other fitness chains or whatever.
Yeah.
Not that we're a chain. But I'm also a physical therapist.
Yeah.
So you're getting people with hip replacements, right? Some people have to sit down to do it. And that's what I attract, because that's what I do, right? And I need to show somebody who might be 45, 49. You can still do it.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to kick it like Heidi kicks the bag.
Right.
But just do it.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think many men can move their hips like I move my hips. You know what I'm saying?
They should take belly dance.
Yeah, because I'm a teacher. But so my question for you though is okay, so we're in this outfit, we look great.
Yeah.
Is there a difference? Do you ever feel insecure belly dancing? That's my first question.
When I started, yes.
Okay.
When I started, yeah. But now it's like my happy space.
Right.
So,
is it different if you were just on a beach in a bikini? Would you feel different?
Yes, I would.
Why? Do you know why?
Yeah, because there's a whole... So this morning, for instance, when I was getting ready for today, right? I don't usually wear this amount of makeup. I don't usually wear this.
You should. I was going to show you at a 7-Eleven like this.
Yeah, right? Well, every now and then you might see me at a gas station with this going on. But there's a whole process to getting ready for performances, to getting ready to putting on that persona, right? So I have a boudoir room in my new house, which I can't believe that this room, it's got the old Hollywood style mirror with the light bulbs and, a snow leopard print rug in there. And I sit down and I put on some good music and I put on the makeup. And it's almost like putting on your war paint for the day, right? So you put on the makeup put on the outfit, and you look in the mirror and you just go, yeah, okay, let's go do it. And it doesn't matter what it is, but it's the whole process to putting on the regalia to go do what you do.
Yeah, so like getting in the zone.
Yeah.
Like it's your process for getting in the zone.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask that is because when we're living our passions, again, you're in the zone.
Yeah.
Everything's together.
Right.
We might wear the same outfit at a beach in Florida and feel insecure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're not in our passion. We're just, what I'm saying? And there's a little bit of a difference there.
Right.
Because like I know, like when I'm in my studio, like I'm the man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that carries into other areas. But there's some things where, maybe I'm a little insecure here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, maybe I'm not quite dressed right for this, It's a thing.
Are you trying to say something?
No.
Okay. So what opportunities has belly dancing or dancing opened up for you?
So, like I said, I love being on stage. That's like my number one, Even being in front of a class, like that's still a type of stage, right?
100%. I say when I teach a boxing class, like I'm bringing it.
Yeah.
Like I don't teach much anymore, but like I'm gonna have the best class today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're performing.
Right.
Yeah, I think the teachers that understand that do the best.
They do. And so, I lost the question. Sorry.
Like opportunities, my ADD and your ADD.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How did you know?
Not extreme. Opportunities opened up for you.
Right. So
I have the paper, so I know.
That's great. So I acquired the Belly Dance Studio in 2020 from my dance instructor. And so through that, we then got sort of tossed out of our dance studios because one went under, unfortunately, and then another one, they just wanted different things. And so I had to go looking for another dance studio, and I found a ballroom studio. I'd always wanted to do ballroom. My grandparents ballroom dance, and so they used to when they were a little younger. And so the idea of ballroom dancing has always been one of those things where I was like, I super want to do this, but I don't have a dance partner, so I can't. Funny thing, you don't need a dance partner in order to learn ballroom dance, which I think is something a lot of people don't actually know. So if you want a ballroom dance, go do it. You don't need a partner, right? And so I learned how to ballroom dance in the middle of a pandemic, like I do.
Was this virtually?
No, I was in person, yeah. But most of the students had dropped off, so it was just me doing private lessons with an instructor. And then from there, I met Martin. He taught a bachata sensual class, and I thought, I love this. It's the perfect fusion of Latin dance and belly dance movements. So since then, I've done a lot of classes that are belly dance moves for the bachata dancer so that they can work on body motion and mechanics. And so meeting Martin has been a huge game changer. Huge. I mean, we just did a huge weekender of salsa and bachata. There were workshops and midnight performances and social dancing. And so we organized this thing together. And it was sponsored by Telemundo. I'm on Telemundo. I've got my white butt on Telemundo, Yeah, right? We need one. But we got sponsored.
Cleopatra TV.
Yeah. We got sponsored, which was insane. And then, since then, that ball has just kept rolling, So I've got those performances, I've got belly dance performances, I've got our show coming up. And so it all it keeps rolling forward because we keep throwing energy at it. Yeah, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, and that allows you to grow.
Yes.
Right? And I think it's like a stream, like a thread.
Right.
Like you do this. And I think that's why people who don't do anything, they just go to work and go home. As coaches, we encourage them to go out and meet something. Yeah, because the people that you meet in your activity or in your passion, you get to play with them.
Right. Yeah.
And learn.
Yeah.
Learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about having mentors. Do you feel like you are able to expedite your learning? Do you feel that like mentors are able to keep you on the road when you hit roadblocks? Can you talk to me about that? Because you're a mentor.
I am.
Right?
Yeah, I am. So Inara was my dance instructor. She was my mentor. Still is my mentor. Every time something comes up and I'm like, oh God, I don't know, I'll give her a call and go, you've been through this, I'm sure. Like, how do I deal with this?
Well, I think that's the key of a mentor. They've already been where you want to go.
Right. Yes.
Right.
So Nina, I'd taken class with her for years. There was just this way that she used to teach where she'd be in the front of the class and you knew that everything that she wanted to do was right there. She'd get this smile on her face and you couldn't help but smile with her, regardless of whether it was in front of the class or on a stage. You just were mesmerized. And so...
Because she was like passionate.
She was. Yeah. And so she ended up, like I said, retiring in at the 2020 mark. And we went to Egypt together, of which was a huge experience. It was 2 weeks. I didn't sleep for 2 weeks. It was amazing. And, we're there. And like at that point, I've been teaching classes for her. I've been taking her classes for years. I ran her dance company. We were like this, and we were sitting on our balcony looking out over the Nile. You can't make this up. And she goes, I want to talk about something important. And I go, okay, sure. So I sit down next to her and she tells me that she's going to retire. And my heart falls out of my chest because I couldn't imagine not being in her classes. I couldn't imagine not working together, and so she goes, I'm going to retire. I want to pass the studio to you. And I again, my heart just like bounces off the balcony. And I'm just looking at her bug-eyed going like, what? And she goes, now, if you don't want it, that's okay. But if you don't take it, I'm just going to close the doors. Like, Jesus Christ, stop. And so the next, she was like, I want you to think about it, like, overnight. And so I go, okay, all right, fine. And so I thought about it and was like, yes, I want to do this. I want to continue your legacy. I want to continue, this dream. I want it to keep going. And so it changed a few things, instead of it being Inara Dance, now it's Inara Belly Dance. My dance company, the name changed from Belly Dance Company to Zama. But it just, without her, none of that would have happened,
Is that what you want to do for others? What she did for you?
Yeah. I'm in no place to retire, but, I find that same sort of bond happening with Christos and I. And so we work very seamlessly together. I know that I don't have to be the best at everything.
Sure.
I don't. I just have to know all the people who are. And for instance, this came up in class the other night. We were working on the staging for one of the numbers for a new show. And, I was like, all right, maybe arms like this. And I saw this look on his face. And I went, you have better arms, don't you? And he was like, well, I was thinking something like this. And then we could do this. And, it would kind of go with this. And I was like, we're going to go with it. Those are better. Teach the class.
Yeah, I think that empowers your assistant instructors.
It does.
Right?
It does.
Do you think that people come in and out of your life for a reason?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And when they leave, they're supposed to leave?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have anything in particular where?
So, yes. We just recently moved to this new studio. And we were at another studio in East Providence, and it worked for a long while, but then certain things just, you can tell when energies just don't seem to line up anymore, and we found Studio One in 24 hours, Martin and I both. Martin ended up leaving that studio first, and then, we chatted, and I was like, well, it doesn't make sense for us to be in different studios, because if we're in different studios, then where do we practice, and how do we get things done? And so we called up we called up the owners here at Studio One, and we were like, do you have room? Now, my studio has 5 classes. 2 of them are 1-hour classes. The other ones are an hour and a half on different days. We do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. They have all of those times available in 24 hours. That doesn't happen, you know? And so we said goodbye to the other studio. We set up here, and it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. The owners are just lovely, you know? Currently taking West Coast Swing with John, which is awesome. Hopefully going to be doing a couple competitions this year, so that'll be exciting. And it's just, you can tell that the energy is different. It's clean, you know? Anything that, like, you know, oh, I need to store my mic. They're like, oh, sure, how about this shelf? Like, it's great. And then having Martin here too, you know, he walks into my classes sometimes and he's like, hi, and then he like goes off to teach his private lessons.
Do you feel like it's more of a community of support for you as an instructor?
Oh,
as a coach?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, you have other coaches around you versus just a community coach?
Right, yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm the only belly dance instructor here, which makes me kind of a fun novelty.
I got you.
Yeah. Which is always good. So
just transfer from.
Yeah, you know. And
it's just the belly dancer.
We're blasting Middle Eastern music over in this room, and so sometimes people will poke their heads in and be like, "What's going on in here?" You know. But you know, a lot of belly dance, you know, it's all body mechanic things. So a lot of it does also work for the ballroom and the Latin scenes as well. So, because if you can isolate body parts, then there's so much more you can do.
Yeah, and I think that's like with the martial arts. If you train in one discipline, there's a lot of other disciplines that foundations of that one will translate into. Right? Because you want to understand how to move your body.
Right.
So it's not as hard. Like I can watch things now that I've never learned and be like, okay, I got it.
So what style do you do?
So like my base is jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So in my style of jiu-jitsu, we do a lot of like small joint manipulations.
Okay.
So like, I mean, you break your fingers, you break your wrists, right? Stuff like that. You can do it throw people. And then when I started doing more stuff on the ground, like I learned the foundations of like on the ground self-defense, but my body already knew how to move. Once I got the, right? So then if I had to add, let's say, and this is the way I think about learning, is you get your foundations.
Yeah.
Now, reps are everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So like you have to embrace the suck and go through it.
Right.
But then you just add 1 or 2 things to your repertoire.
Yeah.
So in your case, it's a little different moves.
Yeah.
And you stack them together.
You do. Yeah.
Right? So in jiu-jitsu, it's the same thing. I might learn this move. Okay, I'm going to stack that with that move and that move. And then we're going to see if, now in my case, it might be an adversary, see if they can block that. Because if they block that, we go here.
Right.
And that's how you start to think. It's like a game of chess. But I assume with dancing, you learn this move. Okay, now I'm choreographing. I put it together with this move. And then I go here.
Yeah.
And then I go back.
Yeah.
Right,
so, funny enough, I actually did martial arts for 10 years.
Okay.
It was one of my waves.
Which style? So, you say capoeira?
American capo.
Okay. That's hard style.
Yeah. So I did it for 10 years. I actually used to teach as well.
Okay.
So staff was my
Okay, so that's more fluid.
Yeah, of choice. But it's all choreography, you know? It's all memorizing little choreographies and how to put them together, you know? So when you're fighting, right, you know, when you're sparring and you're in a ring, you're thinking about, you know, okay, so I can move from this move into that move if this happens, but you need 10 different ways to get to where you want to go just in case one of those 10 things happen, you know? So...
Yeah. Is that the philosophy you take dancing? Like when you put something together?
Yeah, absolutely. So in belly dance, you have choreography and then you have improv.
Okay.
So when you start, you're learning choreography, right? Because you want to be able to learn how you want to create muscle memory of like, all right, I can go from this move to this move to this move to this move. So I do one hip combo that, you know, encapsulates like all of the hip motions that you can sort of master. Okay. Yeah. Because in foundations, you want to create that foundation so you can stack the house on top, right? So you learn those like 5 moves, right? And you work them for like a year. Okay. In the next one up, you add a shimmy or you add another isolation on top of it, or you change the angle you're working with, or, you never get rid of those 5. You just keep adding layers on top, So that, in that case, it's very similar to martial arts because you're learning muscle memory to get from one place to another based on what could possibly happen next. Now, when you become a professional dancer, most of what you do is improv.
Okay.
When I'm an OPA, I can't do a choreography. What if a waiter gets in my way?
Yeah.
Right? Or knocks the sword off my hip? Or...
Did you say sword?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So belly dancing stance, you're like, oh no. So belly dancing stance is a variety of props. Veil is my favorite. It's a 3-foot long swat of silk. Sword is one of the easier balancing things. So you dance with it and then you balance it on various parts of your body, usually ending on your head. And then after that, you have candle tray, where you balance a tray of lit candles, usually real. And then you've got shamadan, which is like balancing a candelabra on your head, on a little metal hat. Again, lit.
Those are the main props?
Yes.
Because I was thinking I probably would have a monkey.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure. Maybe they can play zills.
Definitely. I don't know what zills are, but they would definitely play it. Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, if I got tired, they could dance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? And I would pay them, and it's like, nobody gets
you just clap. Yeah.
Smoke a cigarette in the bag. They go to the hookah. So for me, like, and maybe we talk about business a little bit. We talk about skill stacking.
Yes.
So, like, it's like, okay, cool. So I first learned how to teach a belly dancing class.
Yes.
Okay. And now I learned how to teach multiple belly dancing classes for different people.
Yes.
And then I learned how to start running a business.
Right.
And then I started learning sales and marketing.
Yes.
And now I run a perform.
Right.
And then I have other people who perform for me. So you keep skill stacking.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you do it in business or in martial arts. Like for me, like I'm mostly doing computer stuff now or sales and marketing.
Yeah.
But I taught for a while.
Yeah.
Right? But I taught other people to do it. So it's like that evolution of where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you see that in your business?
Oh, absolutely.
So where are you now in your business, right? Because I know during COVID, I think it was 40% of gyms went out of business.
Yeah.
Right.
So we immediately went online. One of the great things about doing a dance style where you don't need a partner is that you don't need a partner.
Yeah, try doing jiu-jitsu virtually.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to do?
It doesn't really
translate as well.
So we immediately went online, and that was great. Christos and I were in our own little bubble, right? So he would come into the studio to sort of help because when you're online, everyone's this tall.
Yeah.
It's very hard to see what people are doing.
Well, I'm that tall normally.
So that was really tough. I'd say right now, definitely owner of the business, marketing. I do quite a bit on social media now. I am now on the TikTok.
Nice.
Yeah. And so a lot of that, trying to get my name out there on advertising. And then right now, I've got Christos teaching for me. So I now have instructors. I'm going to start trying to teach a few other of my students how to instruct in the next couple of years. Because it would be nice at some point to be able to go on vacation.
Yeah.
Vacations, I've heard, are nice. So I take a couple of weeks off every year, but most of the time when I'm not in the studio, I'm still working on the studio.
Yeah, and that's a big differentiation. You need to work on your business, not in it.
Yes.
Because you can't grow it.
Right.
So tell me about what type of sessions you offer to people wanting to learn.
So usually we have 4 semesters a year, right? So we've got spring.
So do they sign up for semesters? That's how they pay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything.
It's 4 months.
It is 10 weeks.
10.
Yeah. So the summer semester's a little shorter. It's 8 weeks, so that I can go to Maine with my family. So it's shorter. And in the summer, I only do beginner classes.
Okay.
So I only do my 2 foundations classes, one taught by me, one taught by Christos, and then I believe Christos is also doing his Beyond Basic class this summer as well. So we'll just have those 3 running. Now, if you already have an idea of what you're doing, we do workshops as well. We're doing one on emoting, which will be a lot of fun. I usually do a veil workshop, a beginner, and then an intermediate. I do a choreography workshop. So we do have workshops for the upperclassmen, yeah. And because I like to give them the summer off after the show to sort of decompress, spend time with their families, go do other things, spend some time at the beach, so that when they come back in the fall, they're hungry. They want to do everything, and I think that's sort of how my dance teacher had done it too, except she took the whole summer chunk off.
Which is hard for a business because, people take 3 weeks off, they're done.
Right, yeah. So for the beginners, I think it's more important to keep things really scheduled and regular, whereas the upperclassmen, they've already sort of been bitten by the bug. So at that point, they just think about it all the time, which is great. So for this summer, we do have the foundations classes. Those will start up in July. They are already up on their website. So that'll be good. It's about 2 weeks after my, so that I can sit in one spot and just eat a bag of potato chips. So yeah.
So as everything's in semesters, that's how they come in. But we have beginner classes.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And so we have, is it all ballroom or are you teaching other stuff too?
Oh, so it's all belly dance.
I'm sorry, all belly dance.
Yeah. So it's all belly dance. I do private lessons in salsa and bachata, beginner salsa, but bachata as well, I can teach as well. I also do a lot of the ballroom styles as well.
Do you need certifications for that or just you?
No.
Yeah, because not in martial arts, you don't.
Right.
But that means you can have some really good instructors and some people who should not be instructing.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of the techniques that I use in my belly dance classes, I use in my ballroom and my Latin stuff as well, because it translates.
Sure.
So, but it's all about having fun and really having that experience of just doing something new and exciting.
Yeah, the connection.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about our big event in June. Mad Hatter theme?
Yes. So it's called Hatter. I'm really excited about it because this year, we had our show last year and it was a hit. It was a hit. So this year, because I am who I am, it has to either be that good or better. So it's a lot more theatrical this year. It's about the Red Queen is throwing an event, and so it's like a day in Wonderland. Yeah, just beforehand. And so it's not just all belly dance. There's a couple of, there's a cha-cha and then a sensual piece. And then we have a contemporary lyrical dancer who's doing a bit. And it's not just my studio either.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So each of the classes has a different group number bit that encapsulates that thing. So we've got a Jabberwocky drum solo. It's pretty sick, I'm not gonna lie. We've got this flower number, we've got ones with flamingos, it's a whole thing. And then my narrator's actually gonna talk this year. So last year I was all right, get it as smooth as I possibly can by myself, and now I'm giving liberty to different people to do different things.
Because everything evolves.
It does.
Right? Is there infighting between different types of dance? Because the martial arts definitely used to have it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Kempo to jiu-jitsu, or this form of Kempo and this.
Right, or, I'm better than you because I do this.
Dojo storms in the 70s.
Right.
You can't just go into a dojo and challenge the instructor.
No.
That's not how this works.
It's not. Yeah. So, in Rhode Island, the culture around dance is very different than, let's say, Boston or New York.
In what way?
Right? So I think in Boston, things are a little more cutthroat, right? In Rhode Island, we're a little bit more relaxed, right? So I've got my studio. Arel has Ancient Art Studios in Berkeley, Mass. And we consider ourselves sister studios. So I'll occasionally get students of hers. She occasionally gets students of mine. And it's not, we don't feel like it's this competitive thing of like, oh, you can't take my students. It's not like that, because she teaches things that are different than mine, and if I have a student who goes up to her studio and they go, oh, I learned about this thing. I'm so excited about it. I go, oh, that's really cool. Tell us about it, So it's more of this melting pot, and it just seems really ridiculous to have to cut people off from further knowledge.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. All knowledge is power. So if you're saying, oh, you can only take class with me.
That's rampant in martial arts back in the day.
Yeah.
That's like
You only do this.
One instructor for your life?
For life.
Life.
For life. Oh yeah. 60 years later.
So where do they get tickets? Can the average person come to
absolutely.
extravaganza?
Oh yes. And I'm also really excited. There are little cameo bits throughout.
Okay. Which part do I have? The naked guy on stage. Right?
You might have to fight in that hat.
His mom put it in climate costume after.
Oh no. You can do one of the cards. Yeah.
Like the
Like the oh no.
No,
it's the king cards. Yeah.
I got you. So where do they buy the tickets?
So inarabellydance.com/chatter. Or you can just go to inarabellydance.com. It's the deck of cards in the corner. You click on that, it'll bring you straight to the page. Tickets, VIP is all sold out right now, but we have general tickets available. Again, you still get a really nice spot. You'll be able to see everything. It just means you're not in front row with the goodie bags. So they're $25 a piece. And it's going to be a fantastic show.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. And even though it is Mad Hatter themed, it's all Middle Eastern music for the most part. So the contemporary is not going to be Middle Eastern, and the cha-cha is a cha-cha. But
the Jabberwocky console.
Oh yeah. But that one is Middle Eastern.
Okay.
Right. So all the other ones, I have a thing where it has to either be Middle Eastern music, or it can be a non-Middle Eastern tune, but it has to have Arabic lyrics in it. So it needs to have that tie-in, otherwise I won't let you use it in my show. And I only choreograph the group numbers. So I choreograph the group numbers, my duo between Christos and I, and that's it. Everyone else, they send in proposals and they work on things, and they come in they're coming in the next couple of weeks to show me their solos so that I can tweak them.
So, and how long did it take you to put together conceptual to
a year?
Okay, so
yeah.
So the last question that I like to ask people, is kind of like look in that camera over there, and like someone's watching this and their life isn't where they want it to be. They want to make a change.
Right.
What advice would you give them to change their life or to start living their passion?
Right. Yeah. So it's up to you. No one can do it for you. So if you're not happy with how things are going, it needs to be you that makes that change, that makes that decision, Keep your eyes open, because different things will come along that you'll go, oh, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be going. And you never know until you start down that road and try it. You never know until you take that belly dance class off of Groupon and start, So that's...
I can see sales on belly dancing and Groupon have spiked 300%.
Oh, yeah.
But no, thank you for this. So where are you actually going to teach me a couple moves?
Yes.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, my name is Dr. Marc Bochner. Don't forget to check out my new book, Pug Learns to Believe.
Hey guys, Dr. Marc here. Now I know a lot of you want to know how we get all these amazing results with our clients, and it comes down to 3 things. The first is fun fitness classes that burn a lot of calories. 2 is giving you an accountability coach to make sure you stay on track and get the best results. And 3 is the nutrition. Included in the nutrition is our food supplement. So we pair with Prestige Labs because I feel they are the best, they have integrity, and they get great results. These are actually the supplements that I take as well. Here's the awesome part. By clicking the link below, you can save 40% off the retail price. So you need that link to actually save 40%. If you just go to the normal site without my link, you're paying full price, okay? So these are the supplements my clients use. If you are interested, definitely click the link below and it'll tell you all about them.